Majority of my practice is probably trauma, but coming out here and doing this and stepping back as having to constantly engage a client, but to let them figure it out and watch that they can do that on their own, it's in them, is so powerful to see. I absolutely love that work. Bridges at Worthmore started in 2005, and actually there's a biography on our website where it explains how the Kuster family started the program. And they were just looking for another option for services here in the area. It's kind of for kids, is sort of how it started out, especially disabilities and things. And I think that's kind of how the adaptive riding piece started. Pam will fill that in a little bit better than I can. But about not quite 10 years ago, I was out here riding. Pam was my instructor, and at the time I was getting my license in mental health, and she said, "Have you ever heard about a GALA?" And I said, "No," and she started talking to me about the Equine Assisted Growth and Learning Association and its use in doing psychotherapy with using equine therapy. And she said, "What do you think about you and I going and getting certified, because you needed both an equine specialist and a mental health person to do it, and it would be something that Bridges would be able to offer as a service." So Pam and I, back in 2012 is when it was, went and got certified, and that was how this all kind of came, was her and I doing that. Having the experience that you had today is the experience that we had in our training, and we fell in love with it, and we were like, this is something, this is real, and it's grown from there. So eventually Robin's coming on and Lisa comes on, and we just look for other ways to be able to offer this service out to different populations.
Conversation about what they can expect, but we sort of want this to unfold naturally. The horses get to be who they are, the client gets to be who they are, and we let it unfold as it does. We're watching the horses from the very moment that they come in the session, because they're giving us information constantly about how that, what they're feeling, how the space is for them, do they feel safe. So what we'll do for you is we will sort of treat this like a therapy session without therapy. So what we'll have you do is we'll have you, if you're ready to get in with the horses, take your time, introduce yourself to the horses, and go out and meet your new partners. How we usually start out a session with our clients is we give them a few minutes and have them introduce themselves to the horses. And Lisa and I are going to stay back here.
We're going to go say hi?
Pardon me?
We're going to go say hi to the horses?
However, whatever that means for you.
Okay.
Okay, this
Even
is
though they haven't decided to come say hi to us.
Depending on experience, depending on the reason why they're here, depending on how much knowledge the therapist gave them before they came in, Lisa and I a lot of times will already have our clients prepped. So Robin and Pam would not have gone through that whole kind of scenario of this is why we do this is why I do that. Now the two of them, of course, are sitting here kind of talking about what they're seeing the horses do. One of the notices probably Robin will say to Lisa is that I've noticed that the horses remained over there while we talked the whole time, you know, and already the client has picked up on the fact that the horses did not come over and engage. You can come up. So she'll, you know, she might reflect that depending on what she sees them doing. It's always up to the client, and it's always up to the horse. So yeah, the horse decides too if they want to stay in the space. I mean, they have the ability to move wherever they want. They don't have to remain there. Mm-hmm. And we've had horses move off before, like not want to be around. Well, and it was interesting because the day you were here, we had a vet come in that afternoon. We used the same horses, one of the same horses, right, and completely different behavior in that session than what that horse had displayed during your session. So how they're acting now isn't how they actually acted when you were in session. So you can see there's a difference every time. They're genuine, they're just being in the moment with whatever that is. You see that already there's a shift in this kind of experience. Now, I can, you know, I could take it a step further, and I would never interpret this because that would be up to the client to interpret, but I can also know that Dawson's new to the team. They're talking about team building. There's still some insecurity and confusion about his role. You know, there could be a lot of things that could play out with these guys in this session that might, you know, might be part of the dynamics. Yeah. But until they decide what that is, you don't know. So she's looking for shifts. So there's certain things, that what we call spuds. Shifts, patterns, unique discrepancies, and then our own stuff. So shifts, we look for shifts in the behavior. So
Are they fast 1 minute, slow the next minute, you know? Are they up, are they down? You know, there's a shift in movement. One's moved to the front, one's moved to the back. From there, we look for patterns. And a pattern has to be something that happens in threes. So a horse does this once, comes back, same spot twice, 3 times, you know, and then that's a pattern. Then we might toss that out to the client. I noticed that when the horse did this 3 times, if it was just 1 time, we might not even say anything about it. Right. Uniqueness is something that the horse does that is not like them. That is not something you've ever seen them do before. Oh, that's interesting. And that happens, that will happen, yeah. Where it's like, we had, Robin and I had a horse out one day with a client, and the horse was taking its foot and just standing, like straddling this pole, and and you just don't typically see horses straddle anything because they could get their feet caught up and stuff. Right. So it was really kind of like, what's going on out there? That horse is straddling, and it was a couple session, and there was a lot of over the fence kind of behavior from the client, and the clients kind of recognizing that they were always one side or the other, could never sort of be just on one side. They were always straddling something, kind of deal was the metaphor that came out of that. But it was unique to the horse that we'd never seen that before. And then the final thing is arrow and S's. So when you see spuds, the S at the end is air stuff. And there are times you bring your stuff in. Oh, yeah. Well, if you're not grounded when you walk in here, they know it. And they will tell you. They will tell you. They will bug you to death and tell you. Yes, and you're like, oh my God, go away. And it's like, breathe. It's okay.
Which I'm bringing my own stuff into this space right now and learning and actually working through being late. That's my own stuff. Yeah. So, so those are the things that our ESs look for. These spuds, they're constantly looking for those things all the time, and sharing them with us. This is what we know. Now, Lisa and I, having done this for so long, we kind of already going, oh, yeah, I saw that, or hey, what do you think about that? Like we're asking them, is that a discrepancy? That looks different, And she and I, when you start to work with horses long enough, we start to pick up on it, and we're kind of like, oh yeah, I noticed that, Pam. Look, I saw that. I got that now. So herd behavior becomes more and more familiar to you, even when you're not a horse person, just being around them so much. Right. So.
They kind of should run over them. They're looking in different directions.
That is something that I noticed over there too. Did you notice that sometimes their heads were pointing in different directions?
Yes.
What might that mean for you all, if anything? Or where does that maybe show up for you?
The other thing I just want to reflect to you guys a little bit is that you were talking earlier about the horses being at the door in the beginning, now they're in different space. Think about your own emotions and how you were feeling at the beginning of the session and now. And is there some reflection in the horses about how you are also feeling where you were at the start of the session versus where you are right now too?